In a few of my recent videos, I've talked about ChatGPT, AI language models, and some of the practical elements of how you might be able to use them in your work. But I want to talk about some of the psychological things going on both when you use them and the things to think about long term. Because obviously these AI language models, chatbots, AI tools, AI powered tools are going to be integrated into more software, more systems, more of the things that we use. So I want to think about how we're using them over the long term and how we understand them in relation to ourselves. Because, at a simple level, these are basic productivity tools that can help you do some copy editing, can help you put together some pieces of a report. Maybe you can use it for brainstorming ideas, for putting together lists. Summarizing information is great. Fine. But there's going to be more uses, there's going to be different uses and people suggesting different uses and applications and creating products and software alongside of it. So I think we really want to think about how we're interacting with these models, both individually and how it's affecting our own work and our personal relationship with our work, with our productivity and what we're doing, and also more generally with other people in the workplace. So the first question is really, what types of jobs and what specific types of work and tasks do we want to automate? There's the general kind of social, cultural question of which jobs need a person, which jobs do we want to see a person in? But there's the real, more kind of pressing, urgent, personal matter of what type of work do you want to be doing? What type of work do I want to be doing? And what parts of my job and my work am I happy to automate? Because there's definitely stuff that I'm more than happy to automate. And some of that might be copy editing, summarizing. Some of it is generating lists and reorganizing information with specific parameters. I've spent a lot of time doing stuff like that, that is basic stuff that is required to get some of my work done, but it's stuff that if I had the choice, I wouldn't spend a lot of my time on. So it's really important to think about this stuff. What about your job do you want to keep doing? What are you really good at? And what is really engaging for you and is really excites you, or it keeps you interested, keeps you focused? What parts of your job do you want to be doing? Or in the future, what types of work would you want to be doing more? Because certain types of work are going to be automated. Certain workplaces are going to automate things. Certain people, teams, and organizations are going to decide this should be automated, this shouldn't be. And there's going to be a lot of testing and there's going to be a lot of mistakes. I have no doubt over the next couple of years, we're going to see all sorts of things going wrong with AI language models or chatbots or different applications of AI being used to generate information or answer questions or, create things that it shouldn't necessarily be creating and making fundamental mistakes. And because we don't always understand what's going on behind the algorithms, there's going to be fundamental mistakes that people don't realize are happening until it's a bit too late. And then it's going to have to be rolled back and we're going to have to adjust and correct and figure out what's going wrong and maybe look a bit more at what's going on behind some of the algorithms. The same thing that's happened with social media platforms is these get rolled out, they get universally adopted, almost universally adopted. And then we look back and go, oh, maybe there's some effects that we don't like. Maybe some of the kind of social effects, the group effects, the, productivity or performance or communication effects, we actually don't like what's going on there. So maybe we need to reevaluate how we're using that. All of that's going to happen at a level that you can't necessarily control. But there are certain things you can control, and you can definitely control how you're using these tools and what you choose to automate for yourself. What do you want to automate in your life or your work? And what do you really not want to automate? Because there's a lot of personal choice here in how you use it. So it is important to be reflective and sometimes a bit self-critical about this when you're thinking, what do I want to automate? Whether that's in the workplace or even in your own life. So, a really good example of how a lot of people are using AI chatbots is to take a grocery list or a list of things in their pantry and fridge and say, what can I make for dinner out of this tonight? And it'll give you some options based on exactly what you have. Now, some people are very happy to automate that and to not have to think about what they're cooking, to put a list in and have an AI chatbot spit out a recipe with the ingredients and the nutritional information and say, this is what you're making for dinner tonight. Great, go ahead, do it. But some people won't be happy to do that and don't want to do that, right? Some people really enjoy that process of, thinking of ideas and being creative in the kitchen and thinking what you want to make and what you want to put together and putting some thought and energy and planning into that. There's not a right or wrong, this is the things you have to automate in your life and these are the things you should never automate in your life. That is definitely a matter of personal choice. But I just want people to be reflective about it, to think, is this something that I want to automate? Is this something I'd be happy to forget about? To delegate to a machine and to never really think about it again? Because the thing is, once you start delegating that, you'll stop using those pathways in your brain. You'll stop reinforcing that kind of knowledge, that creativity, that thought process you might have when doing that. Now, if this is something that you are happy to never expend any mental energy on this again, go ahead, do it, automate it, please do. But if it's something you really enjoy, be careful what you take that energy and that passion or that interest out of and automate to the point where you can never really be bothered to do it again. So, I mean, cooking is a good example of that. Some people really like spending time and energy and thought on that. Some people don't. There's no right or wrong answer. Do what you want. But the same is true in your work. So if you're doing creative work that maybe has a lot of admin tasks on the side and you're summarizing or revising or changing information and having an AI assistant to do certain types of work or certain types of specific tasks is great. But there's other things that you would never want to lose, right? There's a creative process that you enjoy doing. Maybe there's, a brainstorming process with colleagues or teammates or even friends or people you like talking through ideas with, or there's, parts of the brainstorming, the ideation process, the thoughtful process of putting ideas together, of connecting different information, of thinking examples that you don't want to delegate to an AI, and you never want to lose that skill. Because sometimes what can happen is you're busy, you're a bit overwhelmed, there's always too much stuff to do at work, there's too many things to think about, so you start automating the things that, the AI or the machine or the automation tool can do relatively well because you don't have time in the moment. But then what can happen is if you start to do that over weeks, over months, over years, you start to lose, not necessarily lose the skill or the capacity to do it, but you lose the will or the motivation to do it, because once something else has been doing it for you for a while, it's really hard to get that motivation, that energy, that focus to do it again when it's something can be automated. So it's good to think about this beforehand, to think, this is a part of what I do or who I am or my work or something that I enjoy that I just don't want to lose. That this is a really core part of what I enjoy about the creative part about my work, the innovative part about my work, the collaborative, the team working part of my work that I just don't want to lose. And so I want to maintain that over the long term. I want to make sure I keep not just the skills to do that, but the motivation and the energy and the focus to do that. So even if we could automate everything with these various tools and technologies, it's really important to think about what do we want to automate and what we don't want to automate. Because it's really easy to do that and to automate a lot of things without thinking whether or not you do really want to be automating that part of it. So as these tools come up that change our own work, our workplaces, the way we work with other people, really think about what you do want to be using them for. So think about what is really important to you in your work and what is human about your work that you really want to preserve and keep and practice and build in the future, because there's all sorts of things that you can push to automation without even thinking about it. But I want to encourage everyone to be thoughtful about what you are automating and what you want to be automated in the future, because everyone does have a role in shaping how these tools are used, both for yourself, for the people around you, and more generally.